Hey guys, Clover here. I mentioned the other day that I was going to be starting a vlog, and so this is going to be the first day of recording some of my progress with some of the smart contracts and decentralized exchanges that I'm going to be getting into. And so I wanted to show this to you guys. Basically what I'm doing is I'm breaking out a spreadsheet, and I'm kind of going through like my dividend earnings. And so this was some of my dividend earnings from the different smart contracts that I've been getting into recently. So I just kind of updated these. So like, for instance, total today I've made 0.36 Ethereum. And my plan is that I'm going to be taking a third and putting it into decentralized exchanges, putting a third reinvesting into other smart contracts, and then the other third I'm going to be using that as for living expenses here in Vietnam. So I started totaling my receipts. I'm going to start so far, like today, like I went and got breakfast, and it was an all-you-can-eat buffet, like at this hotel. It's really good here locally. There's a few other spots that I go to get some food. It cost me about 470,000 dong, which is about 20 bucks, 21 bucks. So living here in Vietnam is real inexpensive, and so I kind of wanted to document that a little bit as well. So for today, like I've made $235 in dividend earnings from the 5 different platforms that I'm in right now. That might change, it might go up, it might go down. There's new ones that are coming up, seems like every day, and there's a lot of clones, there's a lot of copies. What I'm going to base my research on is the ones that are getting volume. And so if we're looking at DApp Radar, which is kind of documenting how these are performing, we can see that here in terms of the holdings, the balance, the amount of money that's in these decentralized platforms, we can see that the top 2 are decentralized exchanges. And so those 2 I'm going to be primarily buying and selling altcoins from right now, because that's where the most amount of money is. Proof of weak hands continues to kind of get drained a little bit in terms of the balance that is in that particular contract. It is still paying out dividends, so I made about $60 today in dividends. And then these other casinos, some different ways of basically, like if you're into either some of these things or these games, you can see that these are starting to get some bigger balances. But another exchange here, and then you've got proof of only hodling. Proof of only hodling is the contract's currently sitting at like 650 ETH. The proof of Craig Grant has dropped a little bit, which I think earlier was around like 330 ETH in the contract. Now it's about 280. So there's other new ones that have like popped up. There was like just following on the proof of this kind of clone copies. There was now you're starting to see like YouTube personalities, like you're seeing programmers basically just throw out people that are kind of popular in the space. And so this is the proof of Trevon James. You knew that one was coming. So they have their smart contract. Again, this has nothing to do with Trevon James. This is just somebody that set up a clone site. So you can see that there's transactions happening. Like you can see there's been, looks like probably about 25 transactions in the last 5 minutes. So small transactions. Let's see, I haven't checked this one out a little bit. Like last time that I looked at this one, there was like 100 ETH in it. Let's see where it's at now. So it looked like they're updating the website a little bit.
Tangible coins.
So they're going to talk about, they're going to use some of the audio, I guess, on that as well now. Now it's at 50. I'm not getting in this, just because it's like a name. I wouldn't necessarily want to get into something that's so new that doesn't really have anything in the contract balance or isn't doing any volume. So far today, the one that's done the most volume has been the proof of Craig Grant token, which was 230. Let me show this to you guys. Volume the last 24 hours. Let me flip this around. Yeah, it's like 230. So if we're looking at the 24-hour volume, what's happened here recently, the top two are the decentralized, or top three are decentralized exchanges. You've got the casino. Next one's the proof of Craig Grant coin. So this is has the most volume in terms of smart contracts in the last 24 hours at 230. And so this was, in terms of dividend earnings, this is the one that paid out the most today. Like I made like about $100 or so. Let's see here, about 0.15 ETH. You can see right there. So I'm going to be, now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be withdrawing all this to my MetaMask, but I've got a record here and I'm going to keep track of these things, and I want to start getting into some different altcoins and kind of walking you guys through that process. So as far as the decentralized exchanges go, I'm going to be looking at these 5 that are doing the most volume right now. So IDEX, this is 19 million in terms of volume. You've got HOT. I don't know anything about this coin. I started looking it up. This is like brand new, like today brand new, it looks like. So it just doesn't really have any volume. It's only in this IDX, but it's traded 6 million in the last 24 hours on the top decentralized exchange. So I don't know anything about it. If anyone knows, about this project or has any comments, feel free to, leave those. But it's, in terms of the decentralized exchange, it's doing a ton of volume. And so these are kind of interesting to document. If we're looking at the other exchanges, this is the next largest one, Ether Delta. It's doing about 3.5 million in trading. And so these volumes vary. You can see like almost half of the volume here is this EOS DAC coin. And so this one is being traded a little bit more in a few other markets. You can see here a few other different exchanges, but between Ether Delta and IDEX, it's an interesting one to kind of look at. This is, take a look at the, the charts. It's still a pretty new, market here. So this is, again, it's only dating back here to April 18th. So this is still kind of new. It doesn't even have, I guess, market cap numbers. It's treated a little bit differently, but this one, I don't know. It's a little bit interesting. This Pundi X was an interesting one. This one is trending in these decentralized exchanges from different times. You can see that, what was this? Yeah, I think it was like on the 19th. It just had a meteoric rise, and now it's kind of really plateauing, holding that. The volumes are dropping off, which makes me think that this may dump in a little bit, but it is being traded on a few of these different exchanges. Not being traded on Ether Delta, but it's doing a little bit of volume. Vertasum, this is a coin that's being traded on Ether Delta, not vice versa. So some of if you wanted to transfer coins, back and forth between some of these decentralized exchanges, these are not going to be your best bets. These are going to be better ones to kind of hold at this point. But Vertasum has a little bit more history dating back to last year. Really came up in value, dropped. We saw another kind of pump in the beginning of January and dropped. This might be a really good time to get in with the prices kind of where they're at. EOS has been an ICO that's been ongoing for quite a long time and has really come up in value recently. It's since April, being at about $5, coming all the way up to $20. So you're having a 4x return in basically a month on this coin. And this is kind of the in anticipation of the platform that's going to be launched. It's supposedly going to solve a lot of the things that are wrong you know, with Ethereum, it's supposed to be kind of a next generation of Ethereum. You're seeing it traded quite a bit in Asia, Korea especially. So the volumes are just massive. So these are some of the larger, like this is the fifth largest, right here, fifth largest coin on coin market cap in terms of market valuation at 14 billion. There's a lot of money in that contract. So, you know, these are different altcoins to kind of look at. And this other one is probably the last one I want to take a look at. And so this is Aurora DAO. This is IDEX's kind of native coin that they're using. And so I'm still trying to understand exactly how some of the stuff works, because they have like a staking aspect. Let me bring this up. Bear with me one sec. They have a staking element to their coin by basically just holding this coin, and they're supposed to, I'm not really sure, I'm still trying to understand like the functionality of it. I gotta get on this other, here we go. I'm bringing up my account here. And so what I'm gonna be doing is I've made 0.12 Ethereum if you're taking it in thirds. So that's a third of the Ethereum that I've made today. And I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna put it into IDEX and basically get into some of the altcoins that I just mentioned. And so this one interacts with your MetaMask. But the you can see like they have this like Aura staking coin. And so like you can kind of learn a little bit more about it. I haven't really looked in this too much. I watched a video, I think, on it or something, but it's a lot of reading. So I didn't really, you know, dive too deep, but, you know, that might be an interesting one as well. Like, I think the reason I kind of like it is you've seen coins, like for instance, the Binance coin. Let's bring this one up. It's currently 21st. And so this was like an exchange-based coin. You saw like, you know, it's down a little bit today. But, you know, this one, you know, when it first came out in November, you know, it looked like a really interesting project because it was the first time that like these exchanges were tokenized, and it had become the #1 exchange in the world during this November, you know, October. It's really started, you know, taking over the cryptocurrency market. And then you just saw the price just, you know, skyrocket in January, all the way up to $23, you know, at one point. But it's been holding, you know, fairly high, you know, in the teens mainly, you know, somewhere between 10 and 20 bucks. You know, it's what they're kind of, you know, doing a lot of volume with. You can see like to Tether and to Bitcoin is where some of the volume of this, or the main volume of the coin is, you know, roughly about 65%. So that's why, like, I think the Aurora coin might be an interesting one to get into. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of trading on those and kind of taking a few different picks. Right now, in terms of like a reinvestment into the smart contracts, the volumes have really been dying, and that's a little bit of a concern right now. So this is some of the other metrics that I'm doing for basically this this kind of May project that I'm working on. And so like I'm just gonna monitor like the volume in Ethereum that's trading on these. And so like EthPhoenix and LockedIn, like I kind of knew that these are kind of like long plays for me. But there's like not even an Ethereum being traded on these two contracts. So like I wouldn't necessarily recommend these for you know, people that are looking for maybe returns, you know, like a higher rate of return. Because right now the volume is in POCG and Pooh, primarily these two. That's where the volume of trading is. And I think there's a lot of people that have kind of you've seen like POW, proof of weak hands, has kind of, you've seen people kind of get out of it a little bit, or at least get out of their position, lessen their position. I've noticed that like like I'm keep, you know, kind of moving up the list. Like I think I'm like number 40 right now. But you know, I wasn't, I was basically been trying to get into like roughly the 50th position in some of these different coins. Like there's still not information on the proof of Craig Grant coin. Like if I'm like trying to figure out like where I'm at in terms of the token holders, like I think it takes EtherScan a little while to update some of this information, because I noticed that like sometimes it seems to take a little bit of time. But I'm not seeing myself on this list, so I think it's like still updating. But I've also been noticing that like I've been dropping on the Pooh list. So I reinvested to get to the point where I was at roughly the 50th position. Let me see where I'm at now. Geez, yeah. Like there's people that are in the top 50, like the people in the top 50, like the price essentially to get in is rising and rising. So right now, like if we're looking at the contract currently, it's 13.54, and so like I've been continuing to try to maintain my position, but you can see that more people are getting into this project. So like I got to go to the next page, basically kind of see where I'm at. So like I'm in the 60s now. So I've dropped, like I keep dropping on this list, whereas like I'm getting bumped up on the proof of week hands. Now I have a pretty substantial holding in proof of week hands. There's just a lot more money in this contract. But there's a couple of different parameters to look at when you're looking at smart contracts versus altcoins. I mean, it's a different kind of market. So like these are going to be traded a little bit differently, and there's not really the volume yet behind. Like this is still kind of a new thing. I think we're still in the early days of this. So they have to be kind of treated as high risk. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a whole lot of people, put investments in here you're not willing to lose, because there have been examples of some of these clones that have had a tremendous amount of volume and then completely crashed as like everyone pretty much exited. And so like the way I was understanding it was like proof of week math was like an example of that, where it got up to like 4,000 like Ethereum in the contract at one point from something I was hearing. And then it's just completely crashed. Like it's not, let's see where it's at now. Like I know it was, it's still on the list here a little bit, but I remember it's in the top 50. Yeah, it's 32. So you can see here, like this proof of week math, there's 50 Ethereum in it. So these are like so new that there's just like nothing in these. But the one thing you are seeing is you're seeing the exchanges really growing. So like IDX had, just between like 1,000 to 2,000 daily active users not too long ago. It's 8,000 now, and Fork Delta is has kind of become the number 2. The one that's not being mentioned or documented on this is Kyber Network. And so this one is doing a decent amount of volume as well. And that's the one I kind of threw some money into the other day. I bought some Kyber Network coins, and these ones, let's take a look at this coin. Down a little bit today. But this one's being traded, like you can see the volumes, like 20 million. But like once I saw that and I saw like Hyobi, I was pretty encouraged by some of those numbers. So, like in terms of the exchange itself, like there's only, 500,000 in trading, which I don't really understand. And you've got, this one doing as much volume as it's doing. It's, it's a little, still a little bit, like I feel like I'm missing something on this, but there's definitely something there. And then the other two that I think that are worth mentioning is this Oasis. But there's no trading pairs really, but it's still doing about 1 million in volume. And the token store, which it's kind of its ease of use. Like it doesn't really have any volume, but it's and I don't think the amount of coins in there is accurately reflected. But it's kind of I liked the usability of it. So it was easy, and so it was. I think it was set up pretty well. So it might be something I might put a little bit into. But IDEX and Fork Delta, the two that I think you want to start getting into. I'll check on the chat a little bit here. Dentcoin, yeah, Dentcoin, the cellular market, like there's a few different altcoins that are kind of catering to that space, I guess. That might be some interesting ones to get into. I got some Dent on one of these exchanges. Let's take a look. I actually bought quite a bit. I think I got like 0.2 Bitcoin worth or something at the time. You can see it really kind of had a pump in January, and it's dropped quite a bit. The markets, you know, the Qcoin exchange, you know, hit BTC. It's being traded on a lot of different. I like seeing it on Ether Delta, so I maybe have to pick some up there. But yeah, I like Dent. What's going on, Ryan? Yeah, the proof of BitConnect, that was the other one. Let's take a look at that. That one was like, there was like 100 ETH in that contract, and then it crashed. Crashed pretty hard. But it was just like a carbon copy of proof of weak math. Now they've cut the volume. Yeah, there's like 20, 24, 25 ETH. So there's like, these ones are like, there's no ETH in there. So like, I think the way I'm looking at it, and I'm gonna hold on to the dividend earnings for today. Maybe do like show you guys kind of like maybe a reinvest of like one of these platforms right now. But all the volumes are down, and you know, there's all of these other ones that are kind of popping up, and so like you might see like bleeding of some of these contracts as people are maybe getting out to get into another contract. So there's definitely a lot of risk for also like pump and dumps, like for it to just come way up in price and come crashing down. So like it seemed to me that proof of weak hands really was the one that just kind of had the legitimacy in the space for people to really put quite a bit of money behind it. That's why it currently has, you know, 7,000 ETH in there. So there's a lot of people that are kind of behind that. And so what, you know, the Pooh project is they're basically kind of taking out some parts of the code that, or not really parts of the code, but like, you know, they didn't do like some of the verifications, they didn't do the work like that these developers of the other platform did. They're just, you know, copying it, and they're just kind of making it like a lighter version in terms of not as much text. And then basically what you saw with like proof of Craig Grant it was just the same thing, except just some of the numbers changed, and so they made it a 25%. Now when you're getting in, it's really not a good idea to necessarily get out. Like that's a very high percentage compared to all of these other ones that are like roughly 10%. Like the proof of Trevon James one, I believe was like 7% or something like that. And that's like, you know, I think at this point, I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting into any of these other smart contracts until you get over like 100 ETH or so, or even consider them. And again, like these are ones where, you know, may rise a lot in value and then crash, and the price that that your Ethereum's at, you're you're losing on the exit and you're also losing on the price. So it's definitely high risk. And so like what I'm doing is like I'm just gonna monitor like what I'm doing. You know, I put in, like, this is kind of like the ETH invested, you know, that I put in. You know, I put in like half an ETH into LockedIn, half an ETH into EthPhoenix. I put 1 ETH into Proof of Craig Grant, and I put in, you know, 3.5 into Pooh. The proof of weak hands, like the 47, like I'm not, it says 47, but I only remember putting in like 35. Like I know I reinvested sometimes, like, and I got some pretty good dividends at different times, but I don't remember putting that much in. But that's what it says like on my on this website here, which is it's the POWH3D.EU. That's got a lot more, a lot better analytics and data. But the best returns that I've had so far today have been the Proof of Craig Grant, and part of that is the 25%. So you're seeing like people that are getting in, and it's like it's painful to get out. And so I want to monitor how this is going to do over a month, and then basically kind of show the progress, because the volumes might completely crash. You know, the volumes might go way up. It's a completely unpredictable, you know, market, and it doesn't necessarily have the element of some of these altcoins, you know, like, you know, that are thought of in kind of a traditional sense. So so that's about it. Like that's kind of where where my mindset's at. I'm getting more into programming. I want to get into understanding more about these smart contracts. Like I know kind of like the basics, but I signed up for an Ivan on Tech programming thing that he's doing in June. So I'll recommend that for anyone that's interested in learning a little bit more about programming. But I want to get a little bit more into understanding the language behind these contracts, as I think it's kind of a really new recent phenomenon that we've had here, and there's potential behind these, as well as these types of applications on other blockchains not named Ethereum. So that's kind of the claim of some of these other next generation blockchains, is that they solve some of the limitations that we have with Ethereum. So definitely interesting space. Any opinion on ice rock mining? Not sure if you have invested months ago and waiting until payment starting in July. No, like I'd like to be able to visit the mining farms. Like that was kind of my thing when I was getting into it, because there's so many different mining companies out there, and there's definitely ones that can set up a website, you know, say whatever, and then take your money. There have been scams like that that are kind of difficult. So it's a lot of people will invest in something like Genesis Mining that maybe doesn't necessarily have the returns, but they at least know it's a legit company. You know, they're not going to walk away with the money. And so, like, you know, that's kind of what I'm doing here in Vietnam. Trying to meet with these companies. Like they're set up a little bit differently. I'm sure that from the business side, they could probably be run a little bit better, or would be run better in other maybe like in the U.S. or like in Europe or whatever, because of the kind of regulatory environment. But it's you know, it's like they don't want to disclose necessarily like the hash rate and some of the technicals behind it, and so sometimes that can be a little bit maybe people interpret that a little bit different way, in terms of like maybe not necessarily having a legitimacy behind it, because some of these mining companies they're more when they're more focused on kind of like the MLM or the marketing element to it. You really have to you know, marketing's important, and no one really knows you know, and you know what's gonna, you know, kind of work best. You really just kind of have to try and just see what works. And so I think that the marketing is going to be changing quite a bit in in the cryptocurrency space. But, all right, guys. I appreciate you guys staying online. I'll get on tomorrow, probably a little bit earlier, and let you know how this ride's going. Catch you on the next one.